What up, IDS Mob? Welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. This is where you learn how to date as your authentic, introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. And we got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. The primary topic we're going to talk about eventually is, should you consider an age gap relationship? These are the relationships where obviously you as the guy are a bit older and the woman's a lot younger. And there's always controversy about whether or not men should be doing that, whether women should be doing that or whatever. But I want to talk about for you, if that is a kind of relationship you should consider, the pros and cons of that, and then what is actually really important. Is it about the woman's age, or is it about something else that helps to really determine if she is a viable candidate to date? So we're going to get into that. But as always, guys, this show is ultimately about you guys. So if you have any dating questions that you would like answered during the course of the show, this is definitely a great time to be asking those. Just put your question in the chat. At some point, probably starting next week, I'm going to do shows where people can actually like click on a link to come in to the green room here and actually talk to me on screen to ask questions, which would be very exciting. But until then, just ask your question in the chat, and I promise I will be able to get to it. Also, hope you guys like the intro song. That is one of the songs off the upcoming album, Kevin Samuels Was Right, which is coming out next Friday in commemoration of the 1-year anniversary of his death. It's 10 songs. It's jam-packed. It's getting mixed right now, but the songs are absolutely incredible because, you know, I'm biased. But I think you guys will enjoy it. So if you like that song, you're going to definitely like the other songs on the album. And that is going to be coming out, like I said, on May 5th. All right? So with all that said, let's go ahead and get into some questions and comments that you guys have left. Now, you guys leave comments and questions on various videos of mine, and usually like every day I'm looking at them. So I put a list together, and then when I do these shows, which I'm trying to do 2 or 3 times a week, this is where I go and answer those questions. If you want quicker answers to your questions, or you have situations that you're going through, you can always go to introvertdatingsuccess.com. Click on the coaching tab, and you can sign up for one-on-one coaching with yours truly. We also have the Introvert Dating Success Coaching Academy there, which is a video and one-on-one coaching academy that can get you to where you need to be in your dating and love life. All right, so check that all out at the website. All right, so now that we get all the preamble out of the way, let's go ahead and get to this first question. So I had a guy that left a question for me, and the question is, he said, "Hey, Harry, I'm going on a 3rd date with a girl soon. The only thing is, it's going to be a double date with her friends." Ooh. Ugh. He says, "I think you mentioned a while back there's a certain time for double dates. I personally feel like the girl and I should spend more quality time together before introducing me to friends. She likes me a lot, which is great, but I'm not sure how to act or balance focus between her and her friends in the date, especially being an introvert. If you could maybe make a video about this, that'd be awesome." Well, this is that segment. This is that video. So to start off with, my general feeling is yes. This is your 3rd date with this woman. I typically err on the side of trying to keep all dates between you and that other person in the first 3 months of dating. This gives you guys both time to have focused time to really focus on each other, see what you're like, if you guys gel well, if you guys have likes and dislikes that gel with each other, if there's any potential red flags on her end, and just seeing if you guys enjoy each other's company. And that can be a very big distraction when there are other people around, because now you have to focus your energy on those other people, on top of the fact that those other people are judging you, and they can have a very big impact and influence on how this person feels about you. You see, if it's like 3 months have gone by, and if this within 3 months you're boyfriend and girlfriend, she's already solidified enough of a like for you to where her friends aren't going to be able to easily sway her into not liking you. Now, sidebar, obviously, if you're like a trash or toxic guy, then it doesn't matter when you meet her friends, they're going to be like, this dude's toxic and don't deal with him. But assuming that you're a sane guy that's trying to treat her well, then yeah, if your friends have any little annoyance or the nuances and they try to point out to her like, well, you know, he eats his food weird or he talks really fast or whatever, well, at that point, she's already in love with you. It's not going to matter. But in those first 3 months, it's very crucial that you're spending most of your time with her solo. All right. So here's the other thing, though, right, is that he's already agreed to this date. And I know why he did this. He did this because he's afraid to say no to a woman. And this is actually an example of a subconscious test that a woman may put out there early on in the dating process. You see, like this is the part where you have to be able to stand up for yourself and establish your boundaries. So in this guy's case, he didn't want to do the double date. So he should have told her, hey, you know what? I do want to eventually meet your friends, but like, I really want to kind of get to know you a bit better before we start bringing in other people. And so if you don't mind, like, I'd love to meet them at some other time in the future, maybe like in a couple of months. But right now, I really just want to, have you and I be the ones going on dates. And you have every right to say that. And that is an example of you setting a boundary for how you're going to date early on. This is also a great way to test how she's going to react when you set a boundary, because as guys, we get afraid, like, but if I say this thing, or if I tell her I don't want to do this thing, then she's going to act a certain way. You want her to act that certain way. Like, you want to be able to say, hey, I'm practicing you're not saying this to her, but you want to be able to practice setting boundaries and see how she reacts. If she comes back and says, oh, okay, well, I understand, because I know we're just getting to know each other. And so, I'm just so excited about getting to know you. And I just want to show you off, but I understand if I have to wait. If you get that kind of response, fantastic. It's all gravy. If you get the response, oh, what? That's stupid. We used to be able to meet my friends now. And that's so, then you know that you have a woman that is like, she's been trying to hide it, but she's kind of controlling, and if she doesn't get her way, she's going to throw a temper tantrum, and she needs to be out. But you got to do things like that to be able to A, set your boundaries, and B, test her resolve to see if she's going to be accepting of that. Because what you don't want to do is not do these kind of things early on in the relationship. And then later down the line, when you start trying to set boundaries, she's going to feel all weird about it, because up to this point, you've been a pushover and easily walkable over, and you've never stood up for her. You never stood up for yourself in your entire life up to this point, and now it seems kind of weird and awkward. So do these things early on so the woman can see what your boundaries are, and she'll be able to see that you're able to set those boundaries in a calm, cool, and collected manner. You're not doing it in a way where you're trying to be controlling of her, but you are saying there are certain things in the dating process that make you feel more comfortable than others, and this is not one of those things. And yeah, once you bring friends and family and stuff in, that's when it gets a lot heavier. And that also means at the point that friends and family are coming around, that also means that things have gotten super serious. And so this is another thing where sometimes women, in their overexcitement about you, will start trying to put in place things that in hindsight is going to make things feel too fast, too soon. Because I've had this happen where, like, you go and you meet the friends, and then the next time you see each other, she's talking about this feels like it's going too fast and we need to slow it down. And you're like, but we're going at your pace. You're the one that said you wanted to bring friends around. And so you brought friends around, and now you feel it's too fast. But again, she's looking at you to lead the relationship. So even if she was the one that was saying, I want to bring friends around, it was still your job to squash that, because then you're going to get blamed for making this feel too fast. All right. These are the things that maybe other coaches don't talk about, but I really, I coached this guy recently where he's talking about the fact that he likes that I really talk about the subconscious and the subliminal, and like a lot of things that women are doing are subconscious choices to see where your resolve is and to see how you're going to act and how you react to things. So these aren't always conscious tests that women are purposely throwing out. It's just, they might say a thing and then be like, I'm going to present this thing and see how he responds. So in this case, I'm going to present that I want to go on a double date and just see how he responds. And that's the test. And then your test for that part is you being able to say to her what your boundaries are, and you being able to say no in a way that's calm, cool, and collected, but still being able to say no. Women want to hear no from the men that they're dating. If you don't get into the practice of saying that, then it's going to be very easy for her to start to lose interest. All right. And we're not saying you say no to every single thing, but you can say no to things that realistically aren't things you're comfortable with in the dating process. So hopefully this helps you out. All right. So let's get on to this next person's, comment or question. Okay. So this guy says, hey, bro, how's it going? I'm Jack, and I've been dating this lady, 39 years old, for the last 6 months. Our chemistry and hookups have been great, but recently she pulled back a bit. I've given her space and time to herself throughout our dating, but I admit I may have been too eager at times. However, I never acted butthurt or overreacted in those situations. Well, that's great. When you start to notice that maybe you've been doing too much, which will be signaled by her pulling back, then it's better for you to kind of be calm, cool, and collected. And if she's needing space, you give her that space, because what you don't want to do is rush in and try to like do what most guys do, where she starts pulling away and you start thinking, I got to rush in and do a bunch of stuff. No. This is where we start to mirror her. She's starting to text less and pull back a bit. You do the same thing, which allow her to see that maybe you're not being as overbearing with your approach to her as she thought, right? So let's see what he says next. He says, a couple of days ago, she reached out to me and sent a pic of her nails. knowing that I liked them. I commented and she responded quickly. Your content has helped me understand where I went wrong and where I need to not make the same mistakes again by overgiving or being too available. Hopefully, this will encourage her to take more steps to reach out at her own pace and give me more control of my own feelings and emotions. God bless you. So this part is great, where you're saying that you felt like you were able to get helped and that you're being able to respond to her, but you're missing one key element, right? So when a woman pulls away, it means that she feels as though maybe you're coming to her too much. And I've had women combat me on this, but overall, women typically want to be the ones chasing. This does not mean that you don't display your interest by asking her out, but it does mean that of the two of you, she needs to be coming to you more than you're trying to go to her, because if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. She also can't be getting overburdened by your tactics to try to approach her and talk to her all the time, right? But here's the thing. So she pulled away, right? So then he pulled away, and then a few days went by, and then she reached out. And this is where you need to change your tactic a bit, because at the point where she reaches out, that's when you go back into the mode of trying to get to actually see her in person. So she reached out to send the pic of the nails. That should be a sign to you that she wants to see you, because she's not just sending a random pic of her nails. As dudes were like, what the freak is this about? She's sending me her nails? What? I haven't talked to her for 3 days, and now she's sending me a picture of her nails. Well, that is a woman's passive way of trying to get your attention to see if she's still in your good graces. So when she sends that picture, and then you respond back and say, oh, hey, nice nails, whatever, blah, blah, your next move should be, hey, by the way, it'd be nice to catch up with you. Let's meet up for a drink, or let's meet up at my place to cook dinner. But her reaching out is more often than not the signal for, hey, I'm ready to see you again. I'm thinking about you, and I'd like your attention, preferably in a meetup capacity. Now, why won't she actually say this? Because as the guy, I know it sounds silly, but as the guy, she's still looking for you to be the one to initiate plans. So when she reaches out, don't assume she's going to reach out and say, hey, it's been a couple of days. I really want to see you. Let's go someplace, because that is still your job. Is it annoying? Yes, it is 100% annoying, but this is how most women are going to operate. When they reach out, she's thinking, if I reach out to him, he'll know that means that I want to talk to him and see him again, and then maybe he'll ask me out. And I've been through this scenario countless times where I was maybe going in too fast on a woman, and she kind of delayed, and I had to get up the gumption to actually not talk to her for 2 or 3 days, which was painful. But then that third day comes, hey, what's up? What's going on? How you been? What's my first move? Oh, been doing great. Nice to see you. Hey, we should catch up over something. Let me know when you're free. Boom. You're back in the dating process. All right. So always be mindful. When women that have pulled away start to reach out, that indicates that they want to see you. Now, I will say there are a few of those women that will reach out just to see if they still have you on the hook. And the easiest way to tell that is they hit you up and say, hey, nice nail. Hey, check out my nails. And then you say, hey, blah, 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 blah. We should meet up. Let me know when you're free. And then either crickets or they change the subject. That is a woman that is just playing and is just hitting you up to make sure that she still has you on the hook. Do not ask these women out again. You ask them out that one time and they don't respond to it, or they change the subject. That indicates that she's not available, but is seeking your attention, and you can just stop giving her attention. All right. So hopefully, guy, that helps you out. Like I said, guys, this show is ultimately about you. So if you guys that are watching have any questions that you'd like to ask me about a dating scenario, then you can ask me that question in the chat. All right. We have a question here from a guy. He says, Coach Harry, how to prove to her you have become a better person as she requested. So I'm assuming what this is happening going on is that you guys either went out, or you guys were you guys in a relationship, or you guys were just dating. And for whatever reason, she, pulled away. She didn't want to see you anymore because maybe you had some actions that you were doing or things that you were into that wasn't gelling well with her. Right. And so obviously the question then is, okay, let's say you improve those things, you start working out more to lose weight, you get a better job, your money's up, wherever the scenario is. Right. And then you're like, okay, great. I finally got my stuff together. How do I let her know? So here's the thing. It really depends on a few things. One, if she's still in your social circle. Two, in this day and age, if she's following you on social media. If either of those things are happening, then the easiest way is just, if you're on social media, for example, and she's following you, then you can just start posting up random pics here and there, not every day, but just random things that are giving indicators of you improving yourself. For example, let's say you were a big guy and you start to lose weight. You might post up a picture of you in the gym. Assuming she's following your page, she's going to see that. If you got your money up, you might take a picture at like a really fancy restaurant that beforehand you couldn't afford. And now you just put that up randomly on your page and she's able to see it, right? If she's in your social circle, there's going to be a point in time when you guys are in the same place at the same time, at which point maybe you weren't the best dresser, for example. Now you have an outfit on that has, a collar to it and a nice little tie or whatever, or just in the course of her being in your environment again, you're able to kind of talk about, oh yeah, I did this thing the other week and this thing, that, and it indicates that, oh, I went to the gym. Oh, I did this thing that cost a lot of money or whatever. Like those are ways, if she's already still in your circle, that you can potentially like do that. Now, if it's a situation where you just did a really big mistake and you messed up, I have a whole book at my website called The 10 Ways to Win Back Your Ex, Regardless of Who Did the Breaking Up. And that is a book that will really give you the full-on steps that you need to use in order to be able to make that happen. But the short version, I'll give you a brief example of what you can do if you haven't reached out to her in a while, right? Like this needs to be like a couple of months where you haven't reached out, because you need time for her to build up missing you, to get rid of whatever memory she had of you, and you need really serious time to figure out what it is you did wrong and figure out how to best remedy that. All right. And then at some point, say like 2 to 3 months down the line, you could happen to reach out to her. You could try some dumb stuff like, hey, I think I might have left this thing at your place, your car, your apartment, whatever. Or you could just reach out and say, hey, just wanted to check and see, how you were doing. Hope all is well. And leave it at that, and she responds to that. If she responds to that, from there, you could try to facilitate some kind of meeting up situation just to like talk and catch up, or just to say, hey, I was thinking about a few things that you mentioned to me. I'd love to do like a FaceTime, or love to just meet up and just kind of like really just talk about those things. Or you could make the real bold move of saying, hey, so, I know that, we broke up a while ago, but I'd really like to just kind of have a brief chat about, what you feel I can improve about myself for the next person, because I feel as though like, maybe there were some things I was missing, and I'd really love to like get your opinion on that. If you guys are still in a realm where you can guys text and talk to each other, like that's always a good thing to do. Now, granted, sometimes women will tell you things that it aren't really things, but they feel butthurt about whatever. So they want to mention that also. But, of the things that she tells you, you can actually like figure out what that is, and then so you can have that conversation. Perfect example, like a long time ago when I started doing the show, a woman I was dating didn't like the fact that there were some things I talked about on the show that I said were absolute truths, And one of the things that she said that I took to heart is, when you're talking to people, you could say like, this is just based on my experience, or this is my opinion based on X, Y, and Z. That way it doesn't make it an absolute. So if you notice now, years later, when I'm on this show, I'll say to you guys, hey, this is based on things that I went through, because it's understanding that like my reality of what I went through in my dating scenario isn't always the reality of every single person. But it was important because for her, it was like I was making these absolute things, which to her weren't absolutes. And that was a bit of a thing. So that was the thing that I was able to take as a note to be able to grow as a person and to grow and expand on my show. All right. So be mindful of like taking notes in and not having your ego get in the way, and really being mindful of when this person's giving you this feedback to not get butthurt. Because the first thing, when you first hear feedback, you're going to feel some kind of way about it, because we are defenders of ourselves. Our egos don't like us to hear bad things about ourselves. But if you're able to get past that part and then take the advice or take the information and then sit with it for a minute, you can start to feel, is this person giving me actual notes that I feel are actually beneficial and are right? Could I see in these various scenarios where the things she's saying actually were true? And if they are, you can say, hey, appreciate it. You know what? I'm going to work on those things. I've already worked on these few things that we talked about previously. And, hopefully, with these extra notes, I'll be able to do that. So thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And then from there, see if she wants to continue a dialogue. She may not want to, and that's totally fine, because it's in her right to move on if not, but she might want to. You never know, Let's see. This guy says the coach date didn't work out. Oh, I don't know who this is. So there's another person that's writing and saying coach date didn't work out, went bad terms, no more communication in 2 months, but still we both follow each other on IG, but no more likes, no talks, block or unfollow her or not, and why, TY. So I'll answer that one in a quick second. Let me finish up the one I'm on now. So this guy says she doesn't look at my wealth and money. What she wants is a person with good attitude and mature. Yeah. And so That's what most women want. Like I've learned, because again, most of the women that I've dated have made significantly more money than me. So as much as, guys out there like say, oh, the women just want a guy with a lot of money, it really does boil down to like your emotional maturity and your ability to have a good attitude. Because women don't want to be around a guy that has a bad attitude. And what happens is a lot of times we grow up in scenarios where we learn to be sarcastic or give these off-putting comments as defense mechanisms. Like, before you get me, I'm going to put out there this thing. And it becomes a way of talking. It becomes a way of thinking. It becomes how we dialogue with our other person. And as much as you guys think like sarcasm is a language, sarcasm is actually the cousin of bitterness. It usually, when you're using sarcasm and things, it usually is actually a different way of trying to really put out there something that you're upset about or angry about or bitter about. And so that results because you haven't actually learned how to be able to voice things in a way that is still positive, but is letting the other person know, but these are some grievances that I have. And so if those things are pointed out to you, that's great, because that means that you now know things that you can actually work to improve on. So if she gave out specific things about your attitude or the way you react to things or things that trigger you, then we're all at some point old enough and conscious enough to be able to feel when that's about to happen. Like, if you just give yourself 10 seconds before you react to anything, you'll be able to actually feel what the anger building actually feels like. And then B, you'll be able to think about the kind of reaction you're wanting to have, which will allow you to then analyze why is it that you want to have that reaction, which allows you to do the deep work of is that rooted in like childhood? A lot of the ways that we react to stuff is due to the fact that as kids, we learn to react to our parents a certain way. And that unfortunately a lot of times is negative and then spills over into our relationships. So for example, for me, I grew up in a household where if we had grievances going on, mom would sit us down and allow us to actually talk about stuff. She'd have no judgment, but we could say respectfully to her what things were bugging us about her or about the things that we were going through. And so I grew up in that environment. A lot of women that I've dated, I come to find out, women also grow up in environments where, they grow up where yelling happens a lot, or they're not really heard. And so they learn to have to yell everything or complain about everything or hide things and not tell you about what's really bugging them. And so you have to look at what kind of communication styles did you get growing up, and how does that affect your attitude? How does that affect when you talk to her? And then really start to study those things. And you'll start to realize like, oh crap, most people don't really know that the way in which they're actually interacting in the world with their significant other is toxic. It's really sad. So you have to do the adult work of going through that and really seeing what you could have done better. And if you look at some of those previous scenarios where you guys got into fights or she was complaining about a particular thing that you did or the way you acted at certain things, if you are really passing of your ego and really analytical, you may be able to see she was actually right. And then that starts the work of doing the deep dive into what other things could you be doing better, and then being conscious of those things. Because again, even if you become conscious of it, the hard part is being conscious of it, but not allowing your subconscious to still react in the negative way you were reacting before. And that takes work. But the good thing is, if you practice the work enough, then you'll find that you'll eventually get to a part where, like for me, example, if I'm in a relationship and say the person I'm with does something that is annoying, I'll instantly feel the trigger of like, okay, this is annoying and I want to react to it in a certain way. And then I'll be able to say, okay, but like, why is that annoying? And is that just the way the person is? Could you realistically have this thing not be annoying? Because you can make the choice. I think people forget you have a say in how you decide to react and respond to things. And then once you're able to take control of that, that's when you're really a man that has true leadership capabilities and is able to make a woman feel safe, because she'll know that you're able to control your emotions and not fly off the handle anytime you get upset, So hopefully that helps you out. Now, this other guy wrote, and he said, Coach, the date didn't work out. Went bad terms, no more communication in 2 months, but still we both follow each other on IG, but no more likes, no talks. Should I block or unfollow her or not, and why? And I actually answered this on the live I did on Sunday, but basically the short version is that I'm like this. When you do actions like that, it's giving the other person an indication that you care on some level about how they feel about you. And I generally just think that these days and days, like if I'm dating somebody and it doesn't work out, I'll let them be the ones to like stop following me, because I'm not going to give any more attention to them than is necessary. And also what I don't like though, is that people have this idea that, well, if they're still following me, it must mean they still like me. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that they're too lazy to unfollow you, and or even though they don't like you, they may want to still see how you're reacting to them being away. Either way, it doesn't mean that they want to get back with you in some capacity. All right. So I typically err on the side of like, I'm not going to put any more thought into them by purposely trying to find them and then trying to like not follow them anymore. Like that seems to me like an asinine activity to do. But if you feel like it's going to make you feel better to not have this person be able to see you anymore, then you do you. Like I said, I'm going based on what works for me. Your actions and decisions may vary, All right. So before we get into more of the show, we are going to now go to the segment that I like in the show called Kevin Samuels Was Right, where we go over a video of his and we talk about why it was that he's actually right. Now, I'm dressed up already kind of snazzy, but I think I want to dress into something a little bit more Kevin style for this. So hold on just a second.
Kevin Samuels was right. Kevin Samuels was right. Kevin Samuels was right.
Here we go. So this is the segment that we call Kevin Samuels Was Right, where we go over a video of Kevin Samuels talking to a guy, and then we talk about why he was right. This is brought to you, of course, as always, by my album, Kevin Samuels Was Right, coming out May 5th. So let's go ahead and get into the clip.
I'm unemployed. Just started a business, and the only one I got behind me is my girlfriend. And I don't want to like.
Hold on. You invested all your money into starting this business?
Basically, yeah. I used to be a.
And you're unemployed? And you're unemployed?
Yes, sir. I kind of sacrificed everything to get one.
Hold on.
Okay, my bad.
How long have you been doing this business?
I just started, and
what does that mean? What does that mean?
3 months. 3 months.
And you've been unemployed for how long?
Ooh, close to almost a year. It's been kind of hard to get everything together.
What city do you live in?
I moved from Birmingham, Alabama to Houston, Texas.
This is unacceptable.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Kevin Samuels is absolutely right. Like, I know some of you guys out there might have a dream and you want to start going after it and you want to be able to spend all your time working towards that thing. But in the process of that, you still have real life going on. You have bills coming in. If you're dating someone, you're probably still they're going to still want you to take them out. You're going to have other responsibilities whereby having actual money is going to be important. Now, this isn't to say you can't chase after your dream, but until that dream starts becoming profitable, you got to have a real plan in place to be able to earn alternative monies, because life's not going to stop just because you got a dream.
I hope you didn't come here looking for sympathy.
Oh, no.
Do you have both your limbs?
Yes, sir.
Then why don't you have a job?
Because so long story short, I used to be
no long story. Dude, you're 29 years old saying I'm a freight broker and I've invested.
No, I'm 27. Yeah.
27, whatever. You use words like invest in business. You're unemployed living off your girlfriend.
Now, I use stock options, but I made good money off stock options, but at the same time, I lost a lot of money because I get a little greedy from here and there, but it kind of helped out too. So it's kind of been like from stock options.
Kevin looks so distraught because he's just like, dude, but you're calling in my show and telling me that you have these problems going on and you're not making money. So you have stock options, but apparently they're not enough to not live off your girlfriend. This is a problem.
From that and some money too.
How much are you earning a month?
Ooh, shit. About under 1,000, depending on how.
Then don't tell me damn thing about stock options. Negro, you need a job.
Yo, real talk. Kevin is killing it right now. But yeah, like, you look at like the stuff I do, right? Obviously, I get to do this thing working from home. I have other things that I work on, but it took me a lot of years to get to that point. And even then, I still do stuff outside of this just to be able to keep connections with the outside world. Like, I'm an introvert, but I need to know what's going on out there. I need to be able to take other opportunities that are happening outside of where I live. But in the meantime, while I was building up to this, I was still doing jobs. Like, I didn't have like a regular 9-to-5, but I was busting my butt out there doing Uber, doing Lyft, doing DoorDash, doing stuff on Fiverr, whatever I had to do to be able to bring in the money I needed to be able to fund my dreams. So I could like get this computer, get a microphone, get a camera, while being able to also pay my bills and like be able to date and be able to see family and friends. Like, I had to do other things outside of just my dream, because the reality is, like I said, until you start profiting from that, real life is going to still come in. Things are going to still cost money. And you can't be saying, I want to chase my dream, so I'm just going to give up a job, but then woe is me, I can barely feed myself. And then you're expecting other people like the person you're with to take care of you. And that's putting a burden on them that is not necessary. Again, you don't have to take on a 9-to-5, but like do some freelance stuff. If you have a talent that you can make money off of, do that, but find a way to bring real money in while you're waiting for your dream money to finally kick in.
Yes, sir.
Get off YouTube, get off Instagram, get off TikTok, get off your ass and go to work.
Yes, sir.
No, ain't nothing else to say. And she must not have a daddy. Because if she had a daddy, no, he can't be about because he couldn't be around my damn daughter.
I mean, I'm the one that.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, real talk. Those women out there that are actually dating those kind of dudes that like are just laying on the couch or taking advantage of them, I feel sorry for however they grew up. If they had a dad that just wasn't about that life, or maybe she saw that the mom was always taking care of the dad, and so she's cool with doing that. Like, but the point is, for you guys watching this show, you need to be about your money and however that's coming in. If it means you're able to actually achieve your dream and make money that way, fantastic. But building up to the dream, find some means to be able to get money in, because Kevin is absolutely right. He shouldn't be relying on his girlfriend to be supporting their lifestyle while he's trying to figure stuff out, you know? So thank you for watching this segment. As always, be sure to copy the album Kevin Samuels Was Right, out on May 5th, 2023.
Kevin Samuels was right. Kevin Samuels was right. Kevin Samuels was right.
All right. So, guys, let's move on to the main crux of the show today. And today we're talking about, should you consider an age gap relationship? Now, I bring this up because this guy right here, hold on a second, let me pull him up here. This guy right here, his name is Marques Houston. For those of you that don't know who he is, he was in the group Immature. Back in the day, they had a few hits. They had one called We Got It. If you want my time, just come and feel the favor. If it's rain or shine, we got it. Anyway, I was a fan back in the day, right? He was also on Sister Sister as their neighbor Roger. And so, yeah, he's been growing up in Hollywood. He's had a few other groups and stuff and things. And he recently did an interview where somebody asked him about the age gap between his wife and him. Now, when he married his wife, and by the way, let me just show her real quick. Let me just see if I can pull her up. When he married his wife, he was 38 and she was 19. So the story goes, they met when she was 17. So I'm guessing her birthday's got to be like early in the year, because they met when he was 17. But according to him, they didn't really communicate all like that in the beginning. And then she turned 18. When she was 18, they got engaged. When she was 19, they got married, and he was 38. So that's a really short window. Also, they're Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't know what that means, that like they're just in the mode of like when they meet somebody, they just get married to them right away or whatever. But that's a story. He's sticking with it. All right. So he got recently asked about his age gap relationship, and this is what he said about the reason why he dated somebody 19 years younger. According to this headline, he says that women his age often come with baggage. So the article reads, Marques Houston has shared why he doesn't date women his age. Quote, there's a lot of women my age that I've dated. Now keep in mind, he's 41 now. So between when he was dating this woman, he was 37, 38, right? He says, there's a lot of women my age I've dated. They may have baggage, he told Page Six. A red flag to me was always with a woman that had a kid. Nothing against single women, but single mothers with children are a red flag for me. I tip my hat and respect women that are raising children on their own. But when I grew up, I never really wanted to have kids. Now, obviously, I don't want to have kids either. But more importantly, the thing he says about single women and having kids and being single moms, I've clearly done plenty of shows about why a man should seriously reconsider if he wants to go out there and purposely seek out single moms to date. Because to his point, the kids themselves are baggage on top of, usually if a woman is single with a kid, that usually indicates more often than not that there was some turmoil there, because a woman's not purposely, for the most part, trying to have kids solo. That means she probably got with a guy. She was hoping it was going to work out. It didn't work out. And now, even if she's a single mom, ideally the father's in the life, and maybe not. But either way, there could be some drama there between the ex-baby daddy and the kid. And that is also a form of baggage that I can't promote you guys trying to purposely get into, you know? But continuing, The article says the 41-year-old actor and R&B singer's marriage to 22-year-old Maya Dickey has made headlines, with the couple welcoming their first child in 2021. Houston has come under fire for the age gap between him and his wife. He says, I tip my hat and respect women that are raising children on their own. But when I grew up, I never really wanted to have kids. They repeated that again for some reason. Anyway, he says, Houston explained that he would, quote, talk to my dad a lot, and he would always tell me to have your own kids because you never know what the baby daddies are about. Exactly. And that is actually solid advice from the father. No father or mother, for that matter, should be trying to convince her son to purposely seek out a scenario where he's going to take care of somebody else's kids. Now, if you just happen to come across a woman that is absolutely bodacious and beautiful and vibrant and is feminine, and she's the best thing in the world, and she just happens to have a kid, and you think you can take that on, then that is a decision that you can make. I have found more often than not the juice is not worth the squeeze, but your results may vary. Continuing, he added that he wanted to make sure to have kids with a woman that had previously never had children. So that was always my red flag, Houston added, before saying that he doesn't like women with funky attitudes. Oh, here we go. He says, I could have married a 44-year-old woman and it could have been disastrous. Women that are my age, they kind of have a different outlook on life. Like a lot of women my age are very independent. They are very like, I don't need a man to do this for me because I can do it for myself. I come from a generation that I love to provide for my wife. Funny enough, though, most of those women, even though they're spouting all this independent woman, I can do my own, subconsciously and secretly, they're still wanting a man to come in and take the reins. Like independent women, for example, that make $100,000 a year. Most of them are usually saying what? I want to date a guy that is equal in income or makes more than me, because there's still this need for a man to be able to come in and take care of the scenario. Because hypothetically, if something goes wrong with her, she's still thinking, I need to still be taken care of if all this goes away. And so even though I'm boss babe, independent chick, making a lot of money, I want my guy to be the same or make more, because if something goes haywire, I got to still be taken care of. And in a relationship scenario, I'm going to now have to rely on this other guy. So he's absolutely right in that. Yeah, there are independent women that are putting out this whole, I can do it myself thing, but that's a lie even to them. Like, and not to say that there aren't boss babes out there that can't totally take care of scenarios. Because like I've said before, I've dated plenty of women that made more than me, but they weren't pushing when I was with them. I make more than you and blah, 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 blah. And this and that, like they still weren't pushing that, because at the end of the day, they still want to feel as though me, the guy, can take care of them. I was still doing most of the paying for dates. I was still the one making most of the plans. They were still following my lead on stuff because they still want that feel, even if they're spouting all this nonsense, right? So then he says, Houston also clarified why he fell for his current wife. He says, there are so many different women I've been with throughout my life, and it just so happens to be that this one caught my heart. Everything I prayed for and everything that I wanted in a woman, she came with. Although she was young, I'm young in spirit. I mean, that's just BS to say. He's 41. He's old. All right. I'm 41. I get it. You want to wish that you were young and vibrant. Your brain doesn't really age like that, but realistically, you're old. But that's fine, because most women like that. Most women are trying to date guys that are older than them in some capacity, whether it's like 1 year or 19 years, you know? Continuing, he says he met Dickey in 2018 through a friend. She was 17 at the time. The couple announced their engagement in March 2019 and said their I do's over a year later in August 2020. He previously addressed criticism over the age gap in his marriage earlier this year. He says, me and my wife's situation is a little different, how we met through mutual friends and everything like that. When I met my wife, she was 17. We had no conversations and no connection until she was of age. People don't understand it. And of course, I got a lot of backlash for marrying someone that was 19. And you know, when we finally did start to talk, I was like, this woman is like me. For one, we had a spiritual connection, and I feel like that's the most important thing. And being able to start being around her, we connected through music, and her spirit, her kindness, her heart reminds me a lot of my mom, and we connected on so many levels. Now, all that said, there are plenty of people out there, both men and women, but primarily women, that will vehemently say this shouldn't be a thing. They'll say things like, well, her dating an older guy, he's going to be able to manipulate her, and it's not going to be fair, and it's just so gross, and he's just trying to date somebody that's, no pun intended, that's immature than him. And it's interesting. I saw a video earlier today talking about this. It's interesting, the various things that we will say a woman is either age appropriate for or not age appropriate for, based on where she's at in her growth cycle. Because realistically, there are women that are 25, that are 30, that if she happens to meet up with a 45 or 50-year-old guy, we'll get the same rhetoric. Oh, she's too young. He's taking advantage of her, blah, 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 blah. But I find it interesting, right? So at 19, this woman decided to marry him. Like, she made that decision of her own accord. She wasn't forced to do it. She decided, you know what? I'm 19, and though I may be seen as young, I'm ready to get married. And by the way, back in the day, people got married at like young ages all the time. Like, it was not unheard of people to get married at like 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever, you know? But to the point, so women will come out and say, well, she's 19, she's too young, right? I want you to realistically think about all the things that women at age 19 are able to do in today's society, right? At the age of 19, a woman can decide to go into the army if she wants to. At the age of 19, women are now allowed, actually younger than 19, are now allowed to make the decision about if they're feeling as though they're an opposing gender, they can make the decision, a life-altering decision, to be able to change themselves into the gender that they feel like. Nowadays, as young as like 14 or 15. So you're telling me that we're giving women the ability to say, hey, you can make the complete decision to go into the army, to be able to change up your gender or whatever. But if you get married, oh my God, that's a horrible decision. You're too young to make that decision. You shouldn't be dating so seriously, but get those other things done. Like, that to me is asinine. So that's just a little side riff. But for the guy that's watching this, so you may be asking yourself, should I consider getting into an age gap relationship? If I'm a guy that's 35 plus, for example, is it going to be weird if I want to date a woman who's 18, 19, 20? Am I going to be judged by society? But more importantly, like, is it true what Marques Houston is saying? Are women that are younger, do they have less baggage than women my age who may have more baggage? And here is the honest answer to that. Like women say all the time, it depends. Because I have met women who are around my age who have minimal drama in their lives, who maybe just were late bloomers and were focusing on other things before they decided to really start taking dating seriously. And I've met women who were 19 and 20 who were into a plethora of things that I could never get into and have had all kinds of traumas. I've met women who are 19, for example, that have had like 15 to 20 bodies already, that have gotten heavily into drugs and alcohol, that had traumatic situations growing up, whether they got touched in wrong ways or they just came from an abusive family or background. And so for me, ultimately, it's not so much about the age as it is about how much baggage is this other person going to be bringing into the dating situation. Now, with that said, statistically and probability wise, you err on the side of a woman that is younger has less trauma more often than not than a woman that is, you know, in her mid 30s to 40s and so forth and so on. Because at that point, when a woman's like, I'm 41. So if I meet a woman that is around 40 or so, she's probably more often than not gone through a lot of scenarios. She's probably been married and divorced before. She's probably had kids. She's probably been through a plethora of exes, situationships, friends with benefit situations. And so she's going to bring all that experience, whether it's positive or not, into our situation. And versus a woman that is, 18 to say 27, ideally, she hasn't been run through the ringer enough to where she's going to have all that extra baggage or have opinions on what you can and can't tell her, or being distrusting of men based on her years of not being able to have success. Like, you can ultimately date whatever age you want. The probability of you meeting a woman that has less trauma is going to happen with women that are younger than you. So this doesn't mean you have to go full tilt. Like, if you're 40, you don't have to go all the way back to like 18 and 19, but you do have to look at realistically, like, what kind of trauma is coming to the situation. And are you going to be able to meet more women that have less trauma if they're younger or if they're older? The other thing you need to consider is, what kind of lifestyle are you wanting? And are you wanting to bring kids into that lifestyle? Now, for me, I don't ever want to have kids. So if I'm dating a woman that is 40 plus and her womb's not working anymore, or she got a hysterectomy and she just can't have kids, I don't care, because I'm not trying to have kids anyway. But if you're a guy that is like, you've made it to 35 or 40 and you don't have any kids, bravo for you, and you want some, you could date somebody your age that could potentially have kids. But what's the probability of that being a realistic scenario? On top of, what's the probability of the pregnancy being easy versus difficult? Traditionally, if you date younger women, then they have a better shot at getting pregnant and not having major complications versus an older woman who can possibly still get pregnant, but there's a lower chance of that because she has less eggs, and older women typically have more complicated pregnancies. So these are all the things that you need to take into consideration when you're deciding if you want to date a woman that is older versus younger. Now, I did 2 videos on this channel already. I did one where I talk about the pros and cons of dating an older woman, and I talk about the pros and cons of dating a younger woman. And those things still hold true. Ultimately, it boils down to, are you going to deal with X amount of trauma more so with an older woman versus a younger woman? And then if you're trying to have kids, what does that look like? If you feel as though you've met a woman that is around your age and you think that she's everything you need her to be, then go for it. I say, hey, that's great. Again, honestly, for most of my dating life, up to like maybe a few years ago, most of the women that I dated were like 6 months to a year older than me. But I was able to get into those situations because those women overall didn't have too much trauma. But even then, I did date a divorcee. Like, she had gone through a marriage, was married to him for a while. It didn't work out. They got divorced, but she was years past that divorce. But that said, that doesn't mean that didn't affect her general attitude or her being able to be trusting of men, because that took a while. So again, it's not that you can't date women your age, and it's not saying that women that are overly younger than you are going to be better, but it is saying probability wise, the younger that they are, the less trauma they've gone through. All right. And lastly, for you guys, I don't ever want you to feel bad about dating anybody over 18. Like, real talk, you're going to get some pushback. You're going to have people say, oh my God, she's just 18. But like I said earlier, 18-year-old women are already having to make lifelong decisions that can affect them and alter their trajectory. If they're old enough and the state is saying they're old enough and in the legal system they're old enough, then you should not ever feel bad about that. If people want to judge you for it, then it is what it is. But I will say this. If you are going to date somebody that's significantly younger, you better treat them the best you possibly can, because you don't want to prove them wrong. All right. You don't want to prove to them that, yeah, see, you manipulated her, this and that. This is so true. Like, because you will get pushback on that all day. And so if you're going into really any scenario, any dating scenario you're going to with a woman, treat her right. Make sure you're not hiding things behind her back. Make sure you're not, trying to treat her in a way that's like not respectful. Make sure you have emotional intelligence. Like, regardless of who you're dating, have that set, okay? But especially for younger women, people are going to be having an extra eye on you to see, I want to make sure this guy's not going to treat her wrong. And you know what? They have every right to do that. And you need to make sure that you're going to prove them wrong by treating her the best that you possibly can if you decide to go that route, all right? So hopefully, guys, this teaches you all a very, very important lesson about age gap relationships. And yeah, that's all I got to say on that particular subject. So I have a few more comments that I want to actually address that I've gone over that I have on my list here. Like I said, this show is still about you guys. So if you have a question that you want to ask me, dating question of some kind, you can ask that in a chat, and I will be sure to get to it while we're still doing this live. All right. But I want to answer this person's question. So I forget which video this is from, but I did a show. I always do shows where I talk about like ways to pass or pull away test. And one of the things that I talk about a lot is the importance of, oh, you know what? It was a video where I talked about, hold on a second here. Let me just pull this up real quick. Make sure I get this right. So it was a more recent video that I did. And this one was really feeling some kind of way about this in particular. Forget it. Anyway, so basically, here's the thing. So this woman was responding to the fact that I was saying things like, as the guy, it was a video about how to make her choose you. And I was talking about how doing things like being patient, laying back a bit, letting her come to you is going to be better because it means that you're not forcefully putting yourself out there to her all the time. Now, that's not to say that you do not still try to ask her out and set up dates, but it is saying you need to pull back a bit because you coming to her with all this force is going to feel like way too much. So this woman left a comment, and I think the comment is not really fully getting what it is that I'm meaning when I say certain things. So I'll read her comment. It's long. She says, quite frankly, if a man doesn't make an effort to maintain regular, consistent communication with me, then he has no chance of me thinking he is interested, seeing him as someone willing to put in effort and therefore a person of value, feeling connected to him, thinking that he is serious about getting to know me, seeing him as a high-value man who knows what he wants and isn't afraid to go for what he wants, seeing him as anything other than a player who is most likely entertaining multiple other options on the side and therefore is of no interest to me. Even worse is if all of this is a part of a deliberate strategy designed to manipulate the woman into being the one to make the first move. Really what's happening here is that the guy doesn't want to have to embarrass himself by being brave enough. Notice how Kevin used to always say, shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right. So the whole like, I'm going to insult these guys now and say that they're not being a theme because I'm not getting my way. So she's saying what's really happening here is the guy doesn't want to have to embarrass himself by being brave enough to step up, show his emotions or a little vulnerability and take the lead. It is a strategy for exactly the type of man that I am not interested in dating. Guys, be brave. The right woman will see you, hold you, and appreciate your efforts. And if they don't, then they weren't the one for you, but at least you were man enough to try. And you should be proud of that. Plus, hopefully you learned something about yourself and life along the way. Don't give up, folks. Love is out there. We all just need to hold ourselves to a higher standard and stop playing these silly games. Love to all. So I'll write what I wanted to respond with, and then I'm going to go through every single point that she brought up and go through why it's inaccurate. All right. So what I typed here to mention to you guys is that men wouldn't have to have strategy if women responded to us like men, but they don't. The way women are wanting men to respond and act is counterintuitive to the way most men naturally function. What do I mean by this? Well, as I talk about, the problem most guys have is they're trying to throw every single thing they can at a woman when they first meet her. Now, if women were able to respond to that by being able to just instantly be attracted to us, there would be no need for things like game and no need for channels like mine to explain to guys how this actually works. Because let's say I meet a woman, right? So let's go with what she's saying, right? She wants constant contact, right? So a guy will do that. We as guys will go up to her in a club. Hey, I really like you. I want to take you home right now and bang the crap out of you. And I'm going to text you and call you every day and blah, 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 blah. And for most men, if that were to happen, they'd be like, if a girl was doing that more often than not, I'd be like, oh, that's fantastic. I already know that she likes me. This is great. Let's get this cracking. But how do women most likely respond to that? They start pulling away. They get scared. They get frightened because he's doing too much. What is this about? Does he have ulterior motives? And so guys over time just learn that like, women are saying they want one thing and want us to date them in a certain way. And when we do that, we get turned away. So unfortunately, because of how women respond to things, men have to learn how to go around to the side to be able to get in, to be able to show the woman that he's actually not creepy and not scared and all this other stuff so she can feel comfortable enough to date him. Now, I'm going to go back through her message, right? Let's go through it. So she says, to start off, if a man doesn't make an effort to maintain regular, consistent communication, what does that mean to a woman? Because to a guy, if we're taking it literally, we're thinking that means talk to you all the time. Like talk to you morning, noon, and night, text you good morning every day, text you good evening every day. And men do that. They meet a woman, they have a good time with her, and then they try to do this thing. And what happens? Burnout. The woman gets afraid, the woman stops texting as much, and then it goes away. So this whole thing about being consistent communication, women aren't explaining what that means. And that's because they don't know what it means, because they only know what feels like the right amount of communication, but they don't actually know how to express that. All right. Now, to the other point, she says it needs to be regular and consistent in order for her to think that he's interested or see him as someone willing to put in the effort, feeling connected to him, thinking that he's serious about her, yada, yada, yada. Okay. But we know that's not true, because let's say, this is the famous example, let's say there's an uberly famous guy celebrity, like whatever her favorite guy celebrity is, right? And she happens to meet him at like an autograph thing one day, and she goes up to him and says, hey, I really like your stuff, and I think you're so attractive, blah, 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 blah. And he says, hey, you know what? I think you're attractive too. I'd love to get your number and take you out sometime, right? So let's say she gives him the number. And then let's say he doesn't reach out for like 2 weeks. Do you think that this woman's going to be, when he finally contacts her, is going to be like, well, you're my favorite celebrity, but you know what? You didn't contact me for like 2 weeks. So I don't think you're really interested, and I'm not going to see you. So, but thanks for hitting me up, but like, it's too late now. I'm no longer interested. I'm out. Do you think that's going to happen? Or do you think instead she's going to be able to justify Why is he waited 2 weeks? Well, he was probably on set. He's a big movie star guy, so he's probably flying all around the world. And so he's probably signing autographs in different places. He's on set. He's doing these other things, interviews. So you know what? I'm just happy he reached out, because that means that he didn't forget about me. He spent 2 weeks doing other things, and then he was still able to remember little old me and reach out to me. Oh my gosh. And that's what's going to happen. What's going to happen is she's going to allow his lifestyle to be the excuse as to why he didn't reach out right away. And I say this because it's important. I say this all the time. Interest level cuts everything. Shout out to Doc Love. He came up with that, so I'm going to give him credit. Interest level cuts everything. So I say that because if you meet a woman that is highly, highly interested, then she's going to be happy whenever you contact her. It's not going to have to be every day. They're not going to be less interested because you couldn't hit them up. You hit them up on Monday, but not Tuesday. So now she feels like you don't like her anymore. She's not going to be looking like you're not putting in effort, because if she likes you, the fact that you hit her up at all to be able to propose a date where you're going to take her out, spend money, spend effort and energy, she's going to see as you actually putting effort forth. You being connected, if she's starting to feel the high interest, she's going to already be looking for reasons to feel connected to you. So these excuses only come into play when she's not highly interested. And so this is why I tell you guys, you want to look at you want to seek out women that when you meet them, you talk to them, you build a rapport, you ask them out, are already starting to display signs of high interest, okay? But more importantly, this is why I also tell you guys that in terms of, she is right about the consistent part, but your consistency needs to be in starting off early on what your level of contact is going to be. When I date somebody, for example, I'm already setting up that between dates, I'm not contacting you. So there's no surprise in that. And so women are more able to adapt to, I know how this guy functions, versus you trying to contact her all the time in the beginning and then tapering it off. Now that looks like suspicious behavior. But if you weren't constantly texting her or calling her all the time to begin with, that is consistent behavior. So if you take her on a date, show her a good time, wait 4 to 5 days before you call her for another date, and then repeat that, by the 3rd week, she'll know, crap, if I want to hear from him, I got to reach out to him before this day 4 or 5 stuff, because he's going to consistently do that, but I want to talk to him sooner. So you set that up early on, so that way it's not a surprise to her later. So that part she's right on. But this whole part about, because women say it all the time about, if he's not contacting me all the time, if he's waiting for me to reach out to him, then I'm not interested. But women reach out to guys that they're highly interested in. Like, that's just how it works. Like, again, I've been the guy who, if I ask a woman out, I show her a good time on a date, I'm waiting my 4 days. By day 2 or 3, they're hitting me up. I'm not forcing them to hit me up, but I understand the psychology of all this stuff. And I know that if I'm a little bit more patient than she is, then she's going to show her card first. So it's not a matter of you manipulating a woman into doing what you want to do. It's knowing how they're going to realistically respond if you're a bit patient and you just lay back. And more importantly, if she has high interest. And those are things that you as a guy really, really need to know in order to be a more effective dater. All right. So hopefully I'm not trying to bash on this woman, because this is a typical viewpoint that women have, and it's from a viewpoint of somebody that is not really fully analyzing how they actually fall for guys. Because if she were to look back at previous guys that she was really highly interested in, she'd probably see exactly what I'm talking about, that she was reaching out, that she was like on pins and needles waiting to hear from him, that she was suggesting dates that they could spend time together. Like, this isn't anything strange or manipulative. It's just when women have high interest, this is how they act, you know? Let me check the comments here real quick. Oh, flames at 100%. Yes, exactly. And again, I'm telling you guys, when you start dating women that really have high interest, you'll start to see these things. Up to this point, you may have just been dating women that just have had middling interest, and those women are ones that aren't going to show you these kind of examples. So if you need help with figuring out, how to attract women that are highly interested, and then knowing the things to do to get their interest to boost even more, I recommend you go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on the coaching tab, and we can sign you up for a one-on-one coaching session where we can really help you figure out your scenarios and just in general, the ins and outs of your dating life and what you can do to really skyrocket them to the next level. Because, hey, you know what? I've spent 15 to 20 years getting pretty darn good at this stuff. I don't need you to wait that much longer. So sign up for coaching. You can start figuring this stuff out today, so you're not waiting to finally figure it out, you know? Anyway, let's see what other things here. Oh, so we have a comment from hold on a second. So we have a comment from another woman that actually commented on my pull-away test video. And I think it's a really eye-opening message. So I'm going to give it to you guys straight. She says, I'm a woman. I can tell you that the reason we pull away is because we are less interested. It's not a test. Think about the last time you pulled away from a woman. What's your reason? It's exactly the same reason for us. Another reason is that in some way you hurt her or made her feel emotionally unsafe. She could feel from your reaction the hurt is coming. This happens with women with past experiences. So she simply cuts it off and realizes that the guy is not good for her. Now, I want to be clear. The video that I created, the 5 ways to pass a pull-away test video, and I've said this time and time again, all right? It's not always a conscious test that a woman is doing, number one. But number two, sometimes it's not even a test that she's throwing out there consciously or subconsciously, but it really is more about the test for you as a guy. Because what will happen is sometimes you might be doing some creepy stuff, or to a point you're making her feel unsafe, and then she's starting to back off because she legitimately is starting to feel like maybe this isn't the guy for me. But the test comes in your reaction. When she's pulling away, how are you responding? Because even if it's not initially a test, your response, she's going to have a decision on if the response that you gave to her is the one that she wants, which ends up being the grade for your test. So if she pulls away and you start coming forward full force, then you failed the test that she wasn't even trying to put on in the first place. But if she pulls away and you back off a little bit, now there's a different response, which is, oh, he's pulling away. He's actually allowing me the space and not pushing and forcing me to have to choose him. That's interesting because I didn't expect that, because most men at this point would be chasing after me, but he's not doing it. You know what? I'm going to just check on him. And that becomes you passing a test that she wasn't trying to put out there in the first place, okay? But to this woman's point, that video is specifically talking about 5 reasons why, right? And there's always a plethora of other reasons why women could pull away, right? And so this is what she's talking about, where she says that sometimes it's because she just lost interest. That's very true. And when that happens, this is why I tell you guys, whether she's completely lost interest or she's just testing you or she needs some time to herself, this is why I say the response should be the same, which is you mirror her. You back off also, because in none of those scenarios, regardless of why that test is being put out there, in none of these scenarios is coming at her with full force going to be the answer. It's just not. And so the other thing too that she says is that another reason is that in some way you hurt her. So yeah, if you're doing jerk things, I know we think that women want bad boys and jerks, but the majority of women I find actually want guys that are going to treat them well and make them feel safe. If you're not doing those things, then yeah, she's going to back off. But here's the thing. The part where she says, making her feel emotionally unsafe. How does that happen? Well, what typically happens is, again, you're coming at her, you're thinking, I really like her, I don't want to play games, so I'm going to text her all the time, call her all the time, try to spend as much time with her as possible. When you do that, what you're unaware of, guy, is you are making her feel emotionally unsafe, because you're basically saying, I'm now forcing you to choose me, and I'm going to galvanize all your time without your permission, and I'm going to make you feel bad if you don't want to spend time with me. And all those things make her feel like you're starting to be a bit controlling, which makes women feel unsafe, which makes them pull away. This is why it's better for you as a guy to always go slightly slower than she's going. Because if you're going a bit slower than her, then she's going to let you know when it's time to pick up the pace. Versus if you're going faster than her and she's not there yet, it's always going to make her feel like you're doing too much and that you're trying to get her into this relationship so fast for reasons she's not aware of, but it's making her feel a bit antsy, you know? So be mindful of that when you're dating women. You can't get punished for the most part for going slightly slower than her, but you can get punished for going too fast. If you guys are hearing things like, this is moving too fast, it's too much too soon, I need space to myself, all that should scream to you that whatever strategy you're currently doing is too fast for her. If you need a different strategy, go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and sign up for coaching. I'd love to help you out. All right. So we got a question from a guy in the chat here. He says, 6 months in, coach, ghosted, and then she reached, but I backed off completely. Didn't get butt hurt. Now we're hooking up tomorrow. Hit me with the heart kisses and all, LOL. So now with your vids, I understand where I went wrong, and now I have the right approach. Guys, this I'm going to use this as a testimonial. This is what I am talking about, guys, is that notice she ghosted him. But what did he do? He was able to back off and say, hey, if she's going to ghost me, ultimately, guys, you got to think like this, right? Always have this viewpoint, is that at the end of the day, she is in her right to choose whatever decision she wants about me. If that means she wants to spend time with me because she thinks I'm a great guy, because I think I'm a great guy, fantastic, I'm here for it. If she decides for whatever reason that I'm not her choice, you know what? It is what it is. I'm a confident enough guy. I'll find somebody else. It is what it is. But notice he also didn't get butt hurt when she decided to go away, nor did he act on being butthurt when she came back. Because some of you guys would be like, she went ghost, and then she came back, and the first thing you want to do is have a logical conversation about, why did you back away from me? Why did you pull away? What was I doing wrong? Blah, blah, blah. And ask yourself this question. Is that a fun conversation for her? If she's trying to come back in your good graces, is it a fun conversation for you to bring up the past stuff and trying to call her out on why she left you, this and that? No. So this is part of the game that sucks, guys. But when these women decide to come back, because women, if you leave them alone, they will come back sometimes. But they will also go right away if you're trying to bring up the past and why you left this and that. You just leave it alone and just go back to being that fun guy that she knew that she's hoping to get back with in the first place. You can have results like this guy where she'll want to hook up with you. It really is that simple, guys. This is why it's important to learn how to be indifferent, to not be butthurt by stuff women do, to not take them so seriously, and to ultimately treat women like they're fun. Women are supposed to be fun. They're not supposed to be stressed. If a woman's not coming to your program or doing something that you don't want her to do, you could be mad about it and talk to her about it all day, or you just be like, okay, well, either I can deal with it and we'll move on, or I'll go to somebody else. It's no big deal either way. But you got to be able to want to do that, all right? Because otherwise, you're going to be stuck not constantly losing women and not being able to get ones that want to come back to you if only you had a better attitude about it. Oh, thank you, guys, for leaving that in the chat. I'm going to screenshot that. I want to use that for a testimonial. Hold on a second. I don't know if these show up in my if these show up after the shows go up. So I'll make sure I keep this captured. There we go. Appreciate it, guy. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. Oh, he says, this is definitely part of the game, coach. I remain indifferent and just let the process. Yeah, I said this in previous stream. Dating could be so much simpler if we weren't in our heads and having to do all the time. So sometimes you just got to kick back and let things happen. And you'll find it's like a Jedi mind trick. It's like the more freedom you give a woman to make choices, the more she'll choose you. It's amazing. I got a question from a guy earlier in the week that I thought was worth answering. He says, so you suggest not to talk about feelings and keep the girl guessing. However, during a hookup, is it okay to say things like, you turn me on so much and I freaking love your body? Because those statements might be hinting that you like her. My answer is this. Why do you need a script for hooking up with somebody? Like, I'm not really that talkative in the bedroom. And so I typically she'll be the one saying stuff and I'll be doing my thing and making noises and stuff like that. But I don't feel the need to have a script. Now, with that said, there are some women that will want you to have dialogue. But usually the dialogue they want is like the nasty stuff, like, oh, you're such a little this, and I want to thrust that. Because in that environment, that is where a woman can let her freak flag fly. And here's the thing that most of you guys don't understand. In the world at large, women have to be nice and cordial and get along with everybody and speak this flowery language so people will like them. And that's all well and good. But the bedroom is one of the few scenarios that for a woman, she's like, I'm with a guy, he's aggressive, he's manly, and I want to feel all that manly energy, and I want to be called some of the dirtiest things, and I want to hear some of the foulest stuff because I don't get to do that in my everyday, and I might want to bring that to the bedroom as well. And so she's going to be sitting there like, oh yeah, I want you to do this to me and blah, 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 blah. And your response is going to be, oh, I love your body. Oh, you really turn me on. You're so hot. Oh my God, I love you so much. They're not looking for that. Most women are not looking for that. So I say this, for one, until you get to the point where she has actually said the L word first to you, you should not be bringing up the word love in any conversation. No, I love that outfit. I love the dress. I love your body. The word love should not be said until she says it first. But more importantly is that these kind of phrases, they're not necessary, dude. You need to be going in there and being as animalistic as possible. I mean, not that you need to treat every hookup scenario with roughness, but most women are totally cool with roughness. Spanking them on the butt, pulling the hair, really not the whole time. You don't want to be slamming into them nonstop. You do want to do some gentle, even strokes. But at least the women that I've hooked up with, most of them are they're nice and cordial out in the daytime. But when they get into the bedroom, it's all bets are off. And you coming in there trying to be the soft, effeminate, caring, caressing guy. That's not the scenario most women are looking for. Not to say that you can't be caressing at times and softer at times, but you're trying to lean into being this way. I wouldn't lean into that. Nothing else, let her be the one to say, hey, be more gentle with me or whatever. But you go in there and handle her like a friggin' man because she's looking for a masculine guy to dominate and take her over. And you having this lame script right here isn't going to be the thing that helps with that, you know? So hopefully it helps out. Let's see if there's anything else that I have here. I had a woman call me out on something and call me names. I don't want to get into that in this particular show. Let's see if there's anything else here. Okay, so I have one more. Thing I'm going to read here. And then, like I said, if you guys have any other questions in the chat, feel free to leave those questions. Otherwise, I'm going to close out the show. So this guy says, I had what I thought was a sure thing, but looking back, there were red flags I didn't see. Date only every 2 weeks, text back every 2 to 3 days. The last 2 weeks of things, he says, I always kept my messages short. He says the last outing, they were late to, even though I built in our start time an hour and a half later to prevent that, but things happen. I get it. Skipped out on dinner afterwards saying that they were tired. Thanked me for the time afterwards via text. No response to any text after that. And I only sent 2 texts since that time, almost 2 weeks ago. Well, for starters, I'll say this, is that I'm very much a time person, and I fundamentally do not date people that are wasting my time. I dated this girl years ago. We went on 4 dates, and then there was supposed to be a 5th date. But the first date, she was 40 minutes late for. The second date, she was 20 minutes late for, at which point I expressed, hey, like, I'm taking time out of my day. Can we show up on time? Be great. So the third date, she showed up on time. 4th date, I was meeting her at a coffee shop. I get there. And at this point, I started to invoke what I call the 10-minute rule, which is this. If I get to a place first before a woman, let's say we're not at the phase where like I'm picking her up yet, right? If I get to a place first, I wait 10 minutes. That's it. That's all they get. If the woman does not show up in 10 minutes, I get up and I leave. Now, if she happens to show up afterwards, I do not care because I'm establishing that my boundary is that my time is to be respected. I'm taking time out of my day. I'm spending money that I may or may not have because at the time I was darn near broke to take you out for a good time. If you're not willing to just simply show up when the time is supposed to happen, then this doesn't need to happen. So for that 4th date, I got on a bus and I rode back home. She calls me like 5 minutes later. Hey, where you at, Harry? I said, I'm going home because you didn't show up on time. Like I told you, I'm a stickler for time. 5th date, I had planned for us to go see a play. And again, at this time, I had no car, but I was willing to just go catch buses to go places. I would meet people at the places and still on the bus, still get there before they did. I don't know how that happened. I was here 4 years in California. I got everywhere on time. Women with cars weren't getting to dates on time. It's uncanny. But yeah, so this woman said she would be willing to pick me up. I said, are you sure? Because I can just meet you there. She said, no. I'll pick you up. What's the pickup time? I said, great. The play starts at 9. So pick me up at no later than like 8:20. What do you think happened? 8:20 comes, not there. 8:30 comes, not there. 8:45 comes, not there. The play starts at 9 o'clock. This chick gets there at 8:55. I literally walked out of my apartment to her car and I said, we're not going to the play. And then I'd actually bought her flowers. So I said, hold on, I'll be right back. I went to my apartment. I came back. I gave her the flowers and said, here you go. And she's like, oh, okay, well, thanks. I said, okay, great. Now bye. And then she left. At which point I got on a bus and went to a friend of mine's place. While I'm on the bus, she's texting me, hey, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry I was late and blah, blah, blah. I was trying to, and I didn't care because, again, I can be on time and I'm trying to be respectful of you by showing you a good time and by planning out dates because women want men to plan out dates. So I'm planning out these great, fantastic dates. And her response is, but I can't show up on time. And that is an area where if you set a boundary and she's breaking it, don't date those women because it goes beyond just the dating phase. You got to look at if she's disrespecting your time right now and saying her time is more valuable, how's that going to then equate later on when you guys are in a relationship where you're always late to stuff, where she doesn't care what you got going on because what she has going on is more important. You don't accept those kind of women. Continuing, he says, no response to any text after that. And I was okay. So he says, not the end of the world, but this video got me thinking about a variance in how I present myself. I think I was talking in that video about how we present ourselves in the world and how we view ourselves versus how the world's actually viewing us. It's very, very important to distinguish because we can have viewpoints about ourselves that could be negative, for example, that the world is like, but that's a positive, or that's not even a thing. What are you talking about? And so you got to get to the frame of mind of recognizing that your viewpoint of you in the world is only one viewpoint and your viewpoint's not always the right one. But anyway, he says, got me thinking about a variance in how I present myself on the outing and how I am afterwards. Although, if anything, I think I show more interest on the date itself. Yeah, I think I actually talked about how, like, the problem is that for a lot of guys in dating, in the beginning, we are very, like, we could be very indifferent and we're not stressing everything so much. At the point that a girl says yes to a date and we take her out, now we're all of a sudden, I got to talk to her all the time. I got to, talk to her about serious things. And so we change in a woman's eyes from we were this way when we first met her, and now we're this way. And these two things are different from each other. So she doesn't know who she's getting, which can make a woman feel very, very unsafe and cause her to start to lose interest. Continuing, he says, I asked if they were adverse to hugging. Don't ever do that. I asked her if they were adverse to hugging and said no, and she said, go for it. And they grimaced, but so he went for it, but they grimaced in the outing right before the last one when I did it. So I never tried hugging again. That was probably when it truly ended right there. Well, that's the thing of, like, this is why also you need to be doing touch tests early on. Like I always tell you guys, you want to see on that first date if she's going to be the one to break that touch barrier, whether she's touching your shoulder or accidentally bumping up against you. If that doesn't happen on the first date, though, that second date's when you need to start trying to break some of those barriers. But really, even on a first date, most of the time by the end of a first date, I'm able to just go in and get a hug, and it's not like an awkward thing. If you're getting that kind of response, that is subconsciously her body's way of showing you that she's not really feeling you. And some women, they'll allow that to happen and still kind of recoil back a bit. That's when you need to start reading body language and seeing how she's responding to that. If you're trying to hug her and you feel her tensing up or recoiling, that should be your tell that she's really not feeling you like that. At which point, you got a decision to make. Do you want to try to go on another date with her? Or do you want to take what her body's doing and say, this probably isn't for the best, and just chalk it up to, hey, not every woman's going to be for you. That's totally fine. And then just know not to call her again, or to ask her out on one more date to see if she says yes to it, and then see if you get the same reaction. But those kind of signs are really strong. If she's recoiling from a hug or recoiling from a kiss of some kind, then that usually indicates that even though she's putting on a really nice girl front, she's really not feeling you. And I would say, get out of that scenario, So hopefully, guy, that helps you out. So this has been a really great live, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, you guys, if you need more help outside of this, go to the website. Definitely sign up for one-on-one coaching. Check out the various ebooks, audiobooks, and programs. I have a book there all about how to get your ex back. I have a whole book there about how to text women the right way. I got the program, the Introvert Dating Success Coaching Academy, which if you want some really deep diving help to help you once and for all figure out your dating issues, is a great program to sign up for. And of course, guys, you want to make sure you sign up and make sure you want to get the album Kevin Samuels Was Right by yours truly, coming out on May 5th. I'm going to be putting out music videos for that next week. And then next Friday, mark your calendars. Next Friday, I'm going to be doing a live concert from my apartment here, where I'm going to be doing all the songs from the Kevin Samuels Was Right album. So be sure to sign up and watch that show. Okay, it's going to be absolutely stellar. All right. Before I get out of here, I have a late question that's coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and answer this question. So this guy in the chat's writing. He says, "Hey, coach, I'm dating this woman. It was great for about 3 months. She pulled away. I panicked and ended it. We got back together a week later. Then she broke up with me not too long after that. We still hang out occasionally and hook up. Should I stick with it or move on?" All right. So you guys are going to get a little bit of advanced class tonight. All right. So here's the thing, guy, is that whatever reason you guys broke up, I don't know, she pulled away. So then you broke up with her, which I don't recommend you doing. If you feel a woman pulling away, you can just mirror that and give her space and time, and then she'll eventually come back to you and you're still in a relationship. What it sounds like now is you broke up with her, she got butthurt, so she allowed herself to get back with you, so then she could also break up with you, so she feels like she has the upper hand. It's stupid, but sometimes women do that, all right? So here's the thing, though. So you guys, though, are still hooking up, right? Here's the mistake most guys make, is that they assume if I'm hooking up with her and hanging out with her still, then it means that we're still in a relationship, and I need to talk about that to make sure that's where we're at. And I need to have a serious discussion about, hey, we're still hooking up. We're still hanging out. We should talk about what this means, and if this means that we're still in a relationship or not. Don't do that. Like, don't shoot yourself in the foot. I always say women should be the ones to come to you to ask about a relationship, regardless of the situation. So you're in a situation now where you guys are just hooking up and hanging out. dude, you're good. What that probably means on her end is that she needs this to feel like less pressure than it has been, because the fact that she pulled away means that you were applying way too much pressure. So now she's in a scenario where she feels like she can come and go as she pleases. If she wants to hang out with you, great. But if not, you're not in a relationship and it's not official. But the secret is that women want to feel like that all the time. Like even when women are in an actual boyfriend, girlfriend relationship with you, they still want to feel as though you are allowing her to come and go as please. And when you're not doing that and you're forcing her to hang out with you and you're forcing her to spend time and you're forcing these hookups, that makes it feel like stress, and that makes her second guess whether she wants to continue to stay in the situation. So you're in a good situation now. You're hanging out, you're hooking up. Ideally, you're having fun with each other. Ideally, you're not trying to do these nonstop text marathons between dates. Where you're at is you're basically back to month 2. I tell you guys, it takes a woman 2 to 3 months to solidify her feelings. At that point, she'll make you the boyfriend. What's happened here is you've gone back to month 2 where she's feeling you again, but she's not quite sure she's ready for a relationship. At the point that she's ready, she will come back to you again and say, hey, so we've been hooking up and hanging out for a while. And so I know we're not really, we don't have titles or any labels anymore like that. But you know what? Like, I mean, I thought about like, if you wanted to be in a situation like, maybe that could be a thing, but what do you think? Until that happens, don't bring it up. Just enjoy the hooking up, enjoy the hanging out. There's no harm, no foul. You guys aren't anything super serious. So if you want to, you could be potentially still going after other women, but not telling her about it. Because women need to have the feel that you can get other women without having to have it directly thrown in their face that you're actually seeking out other women. So don't have that conversation. But yeah, keep things where they're at. And then if she brings up she wants to be in something and you decide you want to do that, great. But then when that happens, this is where you go into negotiation. She'll say, oh, so I think we should be something again. You can say, okay, well, that's great. So like, if we're going to do that, because, I don't want to like have another breakup because I think this could be a thing, but like, what are some things that we need to do to make sure this is going to be, be more stable? And you could talk about, some of the things that you would need more to really make this a thing. You can listen to her and say, well, what things that she would need, and then come to an understanding and say, okay, great. Well, you know what? If we're trying to get back together, let's test it out for a couple of months. Let's test out calling this thing a relationship again and just see how it goes. When you answer like that, it makes you look less pressed, which makes her feel like she still has to work to make sure that she's going to keep you, but also it's less pressure on her, which means this whole thing is still her choice to come and go. So take it like that. Hopefully that helps you out. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this broadcast. As always, I'm Harry Wilmington, and be sure to catch these shows. We're doing another live probably sometime this weekend, and then next week we're going to do a bunch of lives leading up to the album release, where I will still be answering your questions on these shows. All right. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I will catch you guys on the next broadcast. I'm out. Hey.
Call this beat Will Smith, cause it slaps hard. Hear it